Good morning, everybody. I'm Jeanne Mufsid-Bonici. I come from the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, and I'm part of the TREIO Project. We are very happy to host all of you today for this online workshop on the eEDES digital exchange system in 2023 and beyond, and how the TREIO tools and how to make the most of them for exchanging the European investigation orders. Why is it that I am hosting and not, as announced in our agenda, our colleague and coordinator of the TREIO project, Dr. Mariangela Piazziotti. There are this morning some internet connections for our colleague Mariangela, who is traveling, so she will be joining us later today. So welcome everybody, and I hope that we have actually, we are very happy to have this workshop, and we're looking forward to exchanging views on, as you saw in the agenda, our plan this morning is to understand better where is the status quo on the eEDES platform for the exchanges of EIOs, and that I am very happy and honored to have with us Christian Nicolaou, who will explain where we are at this moment in time. This will then be followed by some of the member state approaches that have been taken in adopting the eEDES. And we will follow that by explaining how we can support a part of the training and implementation of the system through the TREIO project, who's hosting this meeting. We have a big session in front of us today, so I would say let's kick off immediately. And with this, I immediately welcome Christian Nicolaou, head of the unit of e-Justice, IT and Document Management. Welcome, Christian. And I think I leave the introduction of yourself to the audience yourself, and also to take us through the status quo that we are at this moment in time. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you very much, Jeanne. I'm very honored to be here having this presentation and actually on the eEDES digital exchange system. This is the system that we have started building already in 2017, following Council conclusion from 2016 that we're asking the Commission and the Member States to provide for one portal to exchange evidence in electronic format and to mainstream the cross-border judicial cooperation tool in criminal justice that are form-based and that they are based on mutual legal assistance. So following these Council conclusions, we were happy to convey one expert group that has been with us ever group with a membership of 50 to almost 90 members. Expert group that was discussing all the possible elements that are linked to the exchanges of the European investigation order to the eEDES digital exchange system. It's a group that is formed from legal practitioners, but from IT practitioners as well. And I'm very, very happy to see the presentations later on how the eEDES digital exchange system has been implemented at national level. Because at this moment, we have a number of 11 states that are piloting since April 2022 the exchange of the European investigation order through the eEDES digital exchange system. And those member states are Austria, Belgium, Germany, Spain, France, Hungary, Luxembourg, Latvia, Poland, Portugal, and Slovenia. One of the interesting elements about this group of member states is that they are collaborating voluntarily at this moment because there is no legal obligation to use the eEDES digital exchange system for the exchange of the European investigation order, but this will become compulsory as of 1st of January 2027 as a consequence of the digitalization proposals that were adopted by the co-legislator a few weeks ago, and that will enter into force on the 1st of January 2024, most likely. It depends on the date where the final signature is put on the legal text that is now with the translators, with the lawyer links. That being said, I would like to now switch to a presentation, and I would like to show you the eEDES digital exchange system. I hope that most of you did not see this presentation before, but if you already seen the eEDES digital exchange system, this is because you have already worked with the eEDES system. So without further ado, I'll try to find the share button. Okay. I'm not very sure whether this is big enough for you. Jean, can you maybe help me here? Can you see?
I can see it and I can see it well. Thank you, Christian.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is the eEDES digital exchange system. It's a demo site that it's available to anybody that wants to play with the eEDES digital exchange system as in real conditions. One of the features of the system is that it can be operated in all EU languages. So all 24 EU official languages are available in the system. I'll be switching to English because it's a little easier for me and also for most of you, but also I can operate it in Romanian and French as well. But that's for me. So what does the system show you? You have a dashboard, and this dashboard show you as the person working on the system. So it's not the authority, but the person working on the system, which are the issued requests, which are the received requests, and also there is a tab for draft request. All in all, you can see that it's structured like any email client, with the difference that this is a system that is communicating competent authority to competent authority and not person to person. So the first thing that I could do is to start a new request. I would like to start a new request for an European investigation order. At this moment, the system supports European investigation order, mutual legal assistance request, and interception of telecommunication. I know that the interception of telecommunication is part of the European Investigation Directive. However, here it's represented separately in the system because we have different forms and workflows. Subject of the request, it would be a TREIO test on 1707, and like that we have created a new European investigation order in draft. For the purpose of this demonstration, I am emulating a Polish authority that is called Authority S1 EC1, and we can go to Annex A, and as you can see here, you have options of Annex A. In this way, you can fill in all the 160 fields of the European investigation order as needed. First thing that we would like to do when we are filling in an European investigation order, it's actually to fill in the date regarding the competent authority. So first, we would like to choose the executing state. And for the purpose of this demonstration, we will be checking, choosing the Czech Republic. However, we have to be a little bit patient because since we are streaming to Blue Jeans, there are some delays that are experienced by my computer. So I'm choosing Czech Republic, and now after I chose the country, the system offers me the possibility to also choose the competent authority. So I would choose the authority S2 PC1, and off we go. So now in section A, we have an European investigation order that is being sent from the Republic of Poland to Czech Republic Authority 1. Another important feature of the system is that we have a validation check. So these validation checks show us from the very beginning which are the section of the European investigation order that are compulsory to be filled in for the European investigation order to be admissible. Of course, that doesn't mean that other sections of the European investigation order are not important. So I would be filling in with the dummy data quickly all these fields. The system auto-saves all the data that I'm putting in. And maybe I would show you here another feature of the system. So the system also provides you for the possibility to translate the fields in the European investigation order. And we can select, for instance, as the case, the source language, which is English. And I will translate it in French. So you see, you have already here the translation of the system. Also, if we would like, we can switch the language of the system. And if we are switching it to French, also the form is in French as well. But here, of course, we will have to replace show translation of the system with the version that is provided by the translator, the machine translator, and to use it here in the system. And like that, we have the formula that is filled in French. Now we go to section K. Section K, it's one of the most important sections because there it's the signature section. Here we have to choose between the type of authority. If we have an authority that is not judiciary, which is possible for the EIO, then the system will ask us to provide 2 signatures in the workflow. For the purpose of the demonstration today, I will just choose judicial authority, and I think that here I have to put some data to work. And the system will request us to provide signature. Now we are going to the workflow, traitement. We have completed this task. The European investigation order goes to the next person in the line in the workflow, which can be a different person or can be the same person that have drafted the European.
If I may interrupt
yes.
you, there is a slight delay between what you're showing and what is on screen. So perhaps you could go slightly slower so that we ensure that we're all together with you, if that's okay.
Okay. So do you see now the system in English?
We now see the system in English, yes.
Okay, so we are going to the workflow. We accept the review because this is the next step in the procedure. And we should be able to sign. Indeed, there is a lag, so I have to be also patient myself.
Thank you.
This is when the PDF is generated. So now we have the Annex A of the European Investigation Order, and we are generating a PDF that can be signed. And to the PDF.
Right now, you're no longer sharing, Christian. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. But now you should be able to see again the screen.
Indeed, we can.
Okay. So the form, the Annex A was generated. I will open it for you to show it. It was generated in English because the system was operated at the moment of generating the PDF. But if I switch the language to any other language of the system, we can also generate Annex A in a different language. And now I will show you the PDF version and also the signature procedure. Jean, I will
Yes.
ask you from time to time to confirming that you are seeing what you are supposed to be seeing.
Yes.
Just
and in the meantime, there is also a question: is the electronic signature accepted by all member states? Is the question that has been put?
So, according to eIDAS, normally the qualified signature has the level of a manuscript signature and should be accepted by all member states. However, it's a little bit of a gray area when being sent to an IT system that is closed, because this is the part that is not covered by eIDAS. With the upcoming legislation on digitalization, we have also solved this issue, and now we ensured the recognition of signature and that documents are not refused in court solely on the basis that that document is provided in electronic form. Can you see the PDF with the European Investigation Order?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm enabling all features. This is a version of an Acrobat that I have installed on my computer. It works with any Acrobat reader of recent generation. And I would be scrolling to the form of the European Investigation Order till we reach section K, where we have to put the signature. However, as Jean was saying, there is a bit of a lag, so please be patient and understanding with us, and especially with my computer. So we are at section H. And we should be signing here. I can assure you that in real time this goes way faster, but because of this transmission online, everything has a lag, a delay. So I choose the perimeter here to digitally sign, and I can sign with my digital signature. Maybe, Jean, in the meantime, while my computer is processing, if there are any other questions, I can answer to them.
So definitely, please, if you have any questions, feel free to put them right now. And I think in your registration form, you did put in some questions. So feel free to put them also now. If not, Alexandra, our colleague here, will also put the questions on our behalf. I think there is a question saying, is English intended to be accepted by every state as the fill-in language?
No, but one of the things that the system does also indicates which are the languages that are accepted. For instance, according to the system, but this has to be verified, Poland accepts both Polish and English. Normally, the European Investigation Order, and I'm sure you know that even better, has to be sent in the language of the authority that is executing the European Investigation Order. Hence, the idea that the automatic translation, although is not legally valid, can help for the execution of the European Investigation Order. Okay. Something will happen.
There is another question, and this is the system connected to the EJN judicial atlas to find the correct executing authority?
The system has no direct connection to the EJN atlas. However, there is a link when we are choosing the competent authority that points everybody to the EJN atlas. We hope that in a following version of the system to be able to have such a link and to have the same display as it is in the atlas. Because of course the system contains or will contain all able to exchange EIO, but that doesn't mean that also has the same level of at the level that is displayed on the EJN atlas.
Well, waiting for further. Christian, is it okay if I share with you several more questions?
Yes, please.
Well, we have one new in the chat. The text of the different fields of sections could be automatically translated in all EU languages. Do member states accept all these translations without being performed by an authorized translator? This is a question from Romania.
Well, I think it's the other way around, meaning that the automatic translation is for the executing state if they receive an advanced copy in a language that they don't really understand or they don't officially accept, to still be able to understand what it is about and to start the preparation before the EIO is officially executed. Just to say that this is the digital signature that was put on the document. If not transmitted over the web in this presentation, normally the process takes under 1 minute, but this makes my computer be very, very slow. So once the document is signed, we will have to put it back in the system, in the system. And we have here the corresponding button that is called Upload Sign Annex A. Alexandra, if you have other questions.
Yes, one question from the registration forms refers to the maximum size of the different types of electronic documents that could be transmitted over eEDES.
So the maximum size at this moment is 4 gigabytes. However, if we are discussing about documents that are of bigger size, there are ways that the system can be helpful. For instance, you can send an encryption key through the system in a secure way, and you can send the data that is sensitive but very big, encrypted on a different channel. Downloading it from an FTP site, or even the hard drive being sent by diplomatic pouch. So there are ways to go around the 4 gigabytes limiting. And also we would be looking into how to process the possibility of exchanging large files.
Is this restriction of 4 gigabytes referring to the home message or to a single file uploaded to the EIO?
Well, to the entire message. So, but you know, you can have it in different chunks. So, for instance, now when you are submitting and signing the PDF, you can attach documents of up to 4 gigabytes. So it's per transaction, per items that is being sent and or received. But in the process of the EIO, you can send and receive as many as you like through the IT system. Because you see, you have here, for instance, the button that is set comment, and here you can put a free text comment, and also you can attach a document. So you have a number of elements. These free text comments, however, it is not shown in the actual form of the eEDES digital. I'm really sorry for the fact that I'm unable to close my email. So we have uploaded the sign Annex A. We are back to our application, and the workflows shows only one button, that is send. We are clicking on the send button, and with the confirmation, we would be sending an European investigation order to the Czech Republic for execution. The system confirms the successful send of the system, and here we also have an event timeline. This shows you exactly what happened and when. You have the date and time of the created document until to the date and time of the sent document. So this is the process of creating and sending an EURO. And maybe now it would be a good moment to break again for questions. Alexandra?
Yes, there is one in the chat. Do you send the EIO only in the language of the execution state or in the language of the requesting state as well?
Normally, the EIO should be sent in the language of the executing state.
Okay. With regards
now,
to
what you can see.
Yes.
What you can see also is that the system has sent me a notification by email, and I would be trying to show you that email. I have received also a notification by email that the other authority has Please, Alexandra, you were saying something.
Yes, through the workflow button, one can navigate through the different options with regards to sending EIO and any follow-up actions. One of the questions from the registration forms refers to the how user assignment is done and how the different options vary from one user to another.
So basically, the system foresees a number of profiles. You, first of all, have a coordinator profile. Is the person on behalf of the competent authorities that receives all the European investigation order and that assigns these European investigation orders to several case handlers. At the technical level, each person in the system has a number of permissions for actions in the system. So, for instance, it might be that the only ones that are able to sign and send are judges, whereas other categories of judicial actors are only able to draft and send for approval an European investigation order. Am I replying to the question?
I believe so.
Let me maybe, I would say, let me switch from this window to this window. And now we just magically went from Poland to the Czech Republic. Let me adjust the zoom. Oh, sorry.
Now we can see the screen well. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we are in the Czech Republic. I am the receiving prosecutor of S2 EC1, the famous authority. And here in my inbox, in my received request, I have TREIO test 1707. Okay, it's the one that we have created and we have sent. It's received. So now I have the possibility to take this one and to assign it to a number of users. So here within the authority, I can find several other users that I can this European investigation order. And as you can see here, I have a number of people that have a number of prerogatives. As you can see, Eric doesn't have one of them. So it's signer, supervisor, assigner, signer 2. What does it? For instance, Eric doesn't have the viewer role here. So when generating Jamila, for instance, here has only the supervisor role with the superpowers over the system. So as you can see, users in the system have different level of permissions. As to other prosecutor only has author level possibility. So depending on the profile that has been created in the system for a certain person, that person can do certain actions. So this is the European investigation order received by the Czech Republic. Alexandra, if you have other questions.
Yes, we have several in the chat. One refers to Annex B. Would Annex B be generated automatically with a reference number or even become redundant?
Well, I'm not very sure about becoming redundant, but I can tell you that actually, you see, so we have Annex A as it was with the token, which is the confirmation of the competent authority that sent it, and the signed document here in PDF format. And here in the workflow, normally I can acknowledge the receipt of the Annex A. And in this way, the system automates B. And you have section A that it's pre-filled, but you have the possibility to put the internal file reference. You have the confirmation of the authority which received the EIO and so on. So Annex B, it's automatically filled in the system and can be sent back. However, at this moment, the system does not require any signature for the Annex B. So in the workflow, normally once done, we have confirmation receipt. We can upload a signed PDF if necessary, and we can send it back to Poland. Other question, please.
Does eEDES allows for monitoring the progress of the process?
Yes, indeed. As I showed, for every case, we have here an event message timeline, and this event message timeline shows you who did what and at what moment. So it showed that it was received at 10:33, that confirmation was sent at 10:41. And it also shows the user, the person that has performed these actions.
If I may question, another option to quickly review what's going on with an explicit EIO is from the overview button, where there is a number of icons showing the current state. Christian, can you go to the overview, please?
Yeah. Okay.
Here on the right, right under the executing authority, you have a quick view of the different actions that have been performed with the EIO. And in this particular case, the Annex B have been sent out already. So that icon showing the B letter has become active. And depending on the number of action taken, different icons are activated. Another option to follow the status is if you go to the dashboard and you have the list of issued requests, the list of received requests, then each of these requests have its own status.
Here.
Yes. This is also another option to follow. And for example, in drafts, depending on the state of the draft, this draft option in orange can also change over time. For example, if you have filled in the Annex A, but you have not yet signed it, then it shows you that you have reached section K, but it's obviously not signed. So this could change in the process as well. Another question from the chat goes back, I think, to the assignment of users that Christian just showed. Is the system personalized in a way that only real persons can work on an account? What if the person is not present? For example, he or she is on a holiday or unplanned sick leave.
So you always have the profile that is the coordinator, and the coordinator can assign it to user. You see, you say assign user to case, and also you select permissions that you would want to assign to the user. And then when you search for a person, you can assign to that person these characteristics.
There is another question from Belgium. The participant says, if I'm not mistaken, our legislation, the Belgian ones, does not allow magistrates to formally sign documents in a different language than the official working language. For instance, in Flanders, the Dutch version is the official one and is manually signed. It is then sent to the other member states together with the translation that is not signed by the magistrate. Will the system allow for the transmission of both the original and translated version? You've previously indicated that only the version in the language of the executing state would be sent, but that would be a non-signed one.
No, what is possible is the following. At any, I think I showed you. So let's take a draft, for instance. What you can do here, you can also assign, when, for instance, with the comment or anything else, you can attach a document. And then you can attach also the document that was signed in the different language, being a scanned document or an other original digitally signed. What the system does get, it's also the data that was being input in the machine for the creation of the document to be signed. And this is the data that is displayed aside from the digitally signed document that is in PDF format.
Perhaps, Christian, I think the question is more when we have a translation by a person, a translator that is authorized to and has an oath to translate legal documents. Can you attach this with Annex A? And with Annex A, you can attach documents. And I think that's perhaps is the question here. Yes, the system will send automatically the one with the electronic signature, but there is a possibility to add the official translation also as a PDF with Annex A.
Indeed, that is. So any document can be attached and being sent through the system.
Another question in the chat comes from Czech Republic. An EIO in pre-trial proceeding has to be issued by a prosecutor. However, if a prosecutor asks of evidence that can be ordered in pre-trial proceedings by a judge, a prosecutor has to send his or her EIO to the court to fill in section L. How is this possible to be done in this particular system? This forwarding between authorities on national level.
Forwarding, it's possible as well. Just let me forward just to be able to save here. So I'm going to the receive requests. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. And I am taking that I received this morning from Paul.
Richard, I think the question is about Annex A and the signing steps in Annex A. That's where the reference to section L and K and L. And that, I think, is from the workflow, right?
Exactly. At that moment, basically, if you tick the box, the other box, just let's go to section K. Okay. I'm sorry, but I had to generate another one. Republic of Poland. Okay, so if validation check, I have these details of the authorities that issued the EIO. And here, if I click on any other competent authority as defined by law of the issuing state, that means section K and L. You see, please also complete section L. So in this moment, we will have to fill in also section L. And this is the workflow that has two signatures. Does this answer the question?
Ich habe nur die Sachen bei dir vor.
I think it does. If there are any further questions, please, the participants from the Czech Republic could still intervene. Another question regarding more or less a similar question, but in a different setting, comes from Romania again. Does eEDES allow for sending an EIO to 2 or more judicial entities in the same member state? Or it is necessary to draft separately an EIO for each executing judicial authority?
It is necessary to draft if you have more than one executing authority. The EIO has to be drafted every time you have another executing authority. So for each executing authority, you need to have an EIO, and that is the EIO directive.
There is one question from Slovakia.
I think this will be the last question for now, I think.
Yes.
So keeping an eye on time. Huh?
Yes. The question is about signing Form B. The signature in the Form B was discussed in the past. Do you to Annex B form anytime soon?
I'm sorry. Please, can you repeat? It's got.
The question refers to signing Annex B. Do you plan to add the e-signature process to that form as well? And is it going to happen anytime in the near future?
But it is possible to sign the Annex B electronically, just that is not compulsory. I'm not very sure if I can already show you on this one, but normally it's possible. So because already I sent the Annex B, and this is why I'm not very sure whether it's possible or not. So we are on the Annex B, and the workflow says, no, here is not, but normally it's possible. But here I already sent this Annex B, and this is why I cannot do anything else.
Okay. Maybe we can continue with your presentation. In this context, I will also just like to sum up several important questions coming from the registration forms. Ones refer to the actual deployment of the system on national level, If a participant is an IT responsible for the process, how they can get this information? Is there some kind of a training on technical deployment, and so on? Another question that is repeated several times refers to the future of eEDES, also with regards to the other judicial cooperation instruments. And then a third question also related to the previous ones. Considering member states are gradually acceding to eEDES, what is the possibility to keep all member states automatically aware of and updated of which are the authorities that already have gone online? So if you can just questions in your presentation.
Please, you let me know if there is something that I missed. Regarding the support, Tuesday morning we have an standing meeting on the technical teams of all the participating member states and the member states that would like to join. And I can provide you the details for the meeting. Of course, there is also an email address to the support that by the European Commission for the installation and for the operation of the access point and also of the portal, the eEDES Digital Exchange System, the reference implementation. In terms of the evolution of the system with the digitalization proposal, the system will gradually become compulsory for all cross-border judicial cooperation instruments as of 2027. However, before that, at May 2025, eEDES will also be used to serve documents and take evidence. So for the service of documents and taking of evidence use case as of May 2025. And that means that the system will be open to all civil justice authorities by then, because there is a legal obligation. Of course, member states have the possibility that instead of the reference implementation to use their own national systems, but at this moment we do not have any knowledge of any member state that is using their own national system for the exchange of service of documents and for taking of evidence. Also, from mid-2026, the eEDES proposal, the Production and Preservation Order Directive and Regulation are entering into force, and the system is also compulsory to be used for the exchange of evidence in electronic format from the Internet service providers. So I hope this takes a little bit the round of questions. Am I missing anything, Alexandra?
There was a question about a training on technical deployment.
So of course, we can organize a training for technical deployment, but I would say this should be, first of all, we can organize it, I think, still with but also we can provide an online training through the Tuesday morning meetings, where you can get in touch of the technical team from the Commission, and the technical team of the Commission is able to provide training to everybody wishing to install eEDES Digital Exchange System.
Thank you. And then thank you very much, Christian, for also leading us into the future developments that are coming ahead. And I think you have already highlighted some of the benefits for practitioners, but I wondered whether you want to have any concluding remarks on the benefits of using eEDES also for practitioners.
So far, in the experience of 1 year and a few months, although not many European investigation orders were exchanged, and this is because the competent authorities that are present in the system are quite limited. as many, because that was another question that I did not answer. So the moment a competent authority is able to exchange, that competent authority is present in the system. Also, we are announcing through our network of contact points the competent authorities that are present in the system and are able to exchange. And this is also an information that can be obtained from the AGN criminal. So what I was saying is that the system so far provides several advantages that were actually highlighted by the users. One of the advantages is the speed. It's much quicker to fill in and send an EIO through the system than by any other mean. And please believe me that the duration that took us today to make this presentation, it's only due to using it online through the Blue Jeans platform. Otherwise, the system is really fast. It's behaving like any other application that you have on your desktop and works at a, I would say, natural speed, like, I don't know, Outlook or Word or any other application on your computer that you're using on your day-to-day basis. The other feature that is very much appreciated by the practitioner is the translation. I know that there are these limitations about the recognition in court of the translation, but still the practitioner really like this feature because sometimes they receive and accept an EIO in a language that they do not fully grasp because there is very urgent situation, and then the translation, machine translation, already it provides them with sufficient idea to act and to prepare the action. And last but not least, the validation check, it's very, very much appreciated by all the practitioners because, of course, at least at formal level, everybody knows before sending an EIO that it's got to have the legally compulsory fields filled in.
Thank you very much, Christian, for this very comprehensive presentation of the system. I would now like us to move on a little bit and see what are the first experiences that have been going on now from member states that have been adopting the eEDES system. And for this, I would like to first invite Elena Moreno, who's the systems engineer at the Ministry of Justice in Spain, to share some of the experiences in Spain. Elena, thank you for joining us this morning, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would like to share with you a presentation that we have prepared. Let me know if you can see.
Not yet. Let's see.
I'm not sure. Okay, wait a moment, because I'm not familiarized with this tool, and perhaps...
The share screen is at the top of... Yeah, we can see your screen. It's not in presentation mode yet, however.
Okay, yeah, but you can see it, the Spanish experience. Yes. Okay, this is the one I wanted to share with you. Okay, so... okay, just a minute. Now
perfect, we can see it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, first... Well, this is the points that we would like to talk about today. And I would like to start giving you a general overview of which has been our experience and where we have been participating and regarding our knowledge in eEDES mainly. So eEDES project, it started in 2011. The Spanish Ministry of Justice started working on the project since the beginning. So we have been collaborating on the definition and development of eEDES components. It means a connector and gateway. We have been working at a very low level on the definition of these components. In 2016, eEDES project was ended. And at that moment, Spain, together with Germany and the Netherlands, decided to work on the adaptation of the national CMS to use eEDES access point. So we were together with them, with Netherlands and Germany, and we succeeded on exchanging some cases for exchanging MLAs, mutual legal assistance, in a certain environment, not in production, but we were able to exchange MLAs using eEDES and using the prosecutor CMS in the case of Spain. So also at that moment, the EXEC project started. We have been also participating in EXEC. And now currently we are also working on, or we are supporting MiCodex, and we are part of MiCodex 3 project. In 2022, in April 2022, we went live with the eEDES portal, and in May, 17 May, I think, or 16th, 17th May, we exchanged a case. We were able to send a case to Germany, and also a few days later, we received an EIO, an European Investigation Order, from Portugal. So we were the first exchanges were between Spain and Germany, and Portugal and Spain. We are also working on participating in other projects, also projects that are using eEDES. For example, we are working on service of document and taking of evidence, which is already started a few weeks ago or a few months ago. We had already a technical meeting, and we are also working on the implementation of iSupport. iSupport is a tool facilitated by the HCCH. It's for recovering of maintenance for children maintenance obligations. And also we are working on, we will be working on future instruments according to as they are defined on the horizontal regulation. Well, the scenario of Spain is particular. Spain has 17 autonomous communities and 2 autonomous cities, and in this territorial organization or administrative organization means that some competencies in matter in this case, of justice in this case, but in other areas as well, are transferred to the autonomous communities. In this case, 12 of 17 autonomous communities have these competencies in justice transfers. It means that they manage all these, all related with judge and prosecutors. In this case, we have different CMS and 7 for judges and 1 for prosecutors. This also, it makes a bit more complicated the deployment or the implementation of new tools or systems. And with this, in this slide, I would like to highlight how we see which are the elements that have been able or have made us succeed in the EIO pilot. Well, since the beginning of the EXEC project, we have worked together with end users. We have been very close to them, and also with IT teams in the Ministry of Justice. So the EXEC team, the EXEC team, the project team in Spain, we have been very close to them. We have held workshops with end users, with prosecutors and with judges. And also we had a direct channel of communication with them. So all the time they were informed about the development of the implementation of the eEDES portal. And we had direct communication with them. We could contact them, we could ask them, and also we, at that moment, a change management plan was elaborated in the Ministry of Justice to facilitate the integration of new tools to the current to the process of to their daily activities. So this change management plan try to facilitate the use of eEDES portal in this case with their daily activities. From the exec team, from the project team, we also at the beginning of the beginning of the first phases of the project and the implementation of the portal, we also provided training to trainers, and we also give direct support with to the two piloting authorities once they were in production. So if they have any question or any doubt, they could contact us, and we were there solving them and helping them or providing them support. Also, it's needed to highlight that we directly coordinated all the activities with the IT teams and with other trainers in the Ministry of Justice. And regarding the training, just to mention that due to this territorial organization, the training is provided by the Ministry of Justice, but in other cases, as competencies are transferred, the training is provided by the trainers of these autonomous communities. So it's needed to train, we could say, at two different levels, at the Ministry of Justice and at autonomous communities. For all of them, we have provided a training environment where they can simulate the communication between two countries. So we have deployed the portal simulating two countries and with and each country with two authorities. So in this with this scenario, the users are able to replicate and able to understand and to also to train on this on all the communication between since the beginning of the creation of an European investigation order. One is transferred to the sent to the other country, and also internally in the country can be forward, or so we provide all these tools, all this environment for users to test. And also they do it with generic uses. They don't do it with personal or nominal users. Well, regarding the technical implementation, as mentioned before, we also previously to start implementing the eEDES portal, we already had experience on eCODES because we participated, and also we participated on the development and the definition, and we also exchanged in acceptance and MLA with Germany. And nowadays, Spain is in production with the eEDES portal. We have 9 authorities in production currently, and we have exchanged with Portugal and with Germany, and also we've tried to provide support and to help other member states, mainly testing with them their implementation, the technical implementation. So in an acceptance, in an environment, not in production, but in an acceptance environment, we did this kind of test and support with other member states. Yeah, and regarding the implementation, we have every time we deploy a tool in the Ministry of Justice, we do it in different environments. We have development environments, acceptance environment, training environment, and production environment. The development environment is just for testing, is for internal testing for the team. We don't have access to external, to internet. We test here new releases, we test new versions, and yes, it's mainly for testing. We have a local CCTV with the authorities. We don't connect outside to get the authorities' information. For testing with others, what we have in the acceptance environment, and this is the environment that we use for testing as well, but it's very similar to the production and to the final environment. And here we test also with other, we can test with other member states. And the training environment that I mentioned before, where we have replicated, we have simulated 2 countries with authorities, and we use the acceptance CCTV. We have a connection with the real one. It's not a local one. It's the acceptance CCTV of the Commission. And finally, we have the production environment. This is the environment that is for end users. We don't. It's not used for testing, but as we are starting with the implementation and deployment of the eEDES portal, we realize that for some cases, for us as a technical team, we also needed to have access to this environment, even if it's production. So we created a fake authority just with the purpose of testing with other fake authorities of other countries in production. So every time we need to test that the environment is up and running, or a new release has been installed and we need to test it. So what we do it is to send or to receive cases in this fake authority. And users doesn't see any of the cases that are exchanged here. It's only for testing purposes, but in real, in the real environment, in the production environment. Well, this is the architecture and the final solution of the Spanish implementation. The particularity of the Spanish solution is that the eEDES portal is integrated with our national identity provider. We don't use Keycloak. We are integrated with the identity provider. So the user to log into the eEDES portal is access to our national identity provider, and he can use a user and a password, or he can do it using their digital credentials, digital personal credentials for logging into the portal. The national identity provider is also working as a reverse proxy. Well, I don't want to go into detail, but I would like to just to let you know all of these lines you can see is the communication between, you can see, for example, well, you have, first let me explain you have here the eEDES portal, and after that you have the connector and the gateway, and after that we have the load balancer and the proxy. Red lines means outgoing traffic. So every time a user in Spain using the eEDES portal contact or send something to other user in Europe that is using the eEDES portal as well. So the communication is this red line. The outgoing traffic goes through the proxy and arrives to the other member state, and the response is received through the load balancer, is the yellow traffic, and is sent to the eEDES portal through the gateway, and the connector goes to the eEDES portal. So mainly this is the communication between two eEDES implementations. Well, other communications, for example, with the CCTV, the communication with the CCTV is the green line. This communication is done directly from the national identity provider, which also works as reverse proxy, and this communication is not done through the eEDES access point. And all the communication we have here, external communication, is with the e-translation tool that Christian has mentioned during his demo, during his presentation. We have here two types of communication: asynchronous or asynchronous communication. For example, when you send a form to be translated in the e-translation tool, this form is sent from Spain, for example, and the e-translation tool will send you, not at that moment, perhaps the next day or the same day, but a few hours later. And this is this line, and the incoming traffic comes through the load balancer. There are other type of communication with the e-translation tool, and is the synchronous. It is when you want to translate, for example, a word. You write a word in the eEDES portal and you receive the answer at that moment. So this is a synchronous communication, okay? And this is this other line that is at the top of the architecture. Okay, just a moment. Yeah. Well, and finally, I wanted just to mention other projects that we are participating and are or providing support that are using eCodex components. Currently in production, we have the eEDES portal, we have feature sheet. We provide support here for the use of the e-delivery component. And currently, we are working on the RCT and iSupport. iSupport is the tool that I mentioned also at the beginning of the presentation. And future plan, well, we are working on the service of documents and taking of evidence implementation. And in the future, as mentioned before, we will be also implementing the following instruments. And I think that's all from my side, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Elena, for this very interesting presentation on the Spanish experience. Are there questions for Elena? Feel free also to put up your hands, and so that we could also that you can ask Elena directly.
There was actually a question from before, from Romania, with regards to a situation whether an EIO needs to be drafted by a prosecutor and validated by a judge. Is there such a situation in Spain, and how did you dealt with this type of transmitting the EIO from one to the other?
No, we don't have this case in Spain. As far as I know, we don't. The prosecutor office signed their cases, and also in the courts they also signed their own cases. We don't do it on a mixed way.
Thank you, Elena. Are there any other questions for Elena at this moment? Then, allow me to thank you once again, Elena, for sharing your experience. I think it's time to have a tiny break, comfort break, and we will resume at 11:30. Thank you very much. You do not need to log out of the system. We will resume now in 5 minutes' time at 11:30. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody, and I hope that you have more energy for a little bit more. May I now invite Matthias Möhrer to share the experience from Austria. So Matthias is from the Austrian Federal Computer Center. Matthias, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan. Just let me do a sound check first. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation. And thank you for having me here today to speak a little bit about the Austrian experience. I do not have any fancy slides, unfortunately, as my previous speaker has, so I have to ask everybody for their attention. I'll start with the general approach and the setup as we did it in Austria. So first of all, Austria engaged quite intensely during the analysis phase of the eEDES. We were, of course, part of the eEDES expert group of the European Commission, and if I might say so, we were quite active actually in contributing there. Therefore, we also decided at the beginning to actually use eEDES, at least for to start off with. We might consider later on switching to a national system, but I'll touch upon that topic a bit later. Regarding the technical setup, first of all. So eEDES is, of course, a national installation, as with everybody else. We do use a separate eCodex access point. We have another access point in use actually for civil law cases, for example, the European payment order. But the reason to decide for implementing a new access point was because back then the security requirements for the civil law use cases and the criminal law use cases were not compatible. Therefore, the decision was taken to use different eCodex access points. Still, we have the ambition to actually consolidate and use only one access point for all the eCodex use cases. From the organizational point of view, we started with a piloting authority. This is the Public Prosecution Office of Vienna, and this authority is the largest in Austria, so the largest public prosecution office. They have about half of all the Austrian cases of public prosecution offices, and they have a couple of specialized departments, but two of them which are relevant for this topic. It's the Department for Legal Assistance and the Department for Organized Crime. Most international cases take place there, so therefore these departments were chosen as piloting users. Now, about the training. We did a first training back in September 2020. So if you remember back, that was quite at an early stage of the pandemic. It was half year after the first outbreak in Europe, and actually in that autumn we had a bit of a break of the pandemic where we could breathe through. Therefore, we could actually do trainings with physical attendance. So we had this first training where Jamila from the European Commission participated as the trainer. She participated online, but all the Austrian users were in place in Vienna. And I do remember that actually a couple of TREIO participants were participating there as well as observers. However, then the pandemic came back. Physical trainings were not possible anymore under acceptable conditions. So we had to postpone all the further trainings. Also, at that time, eEDES was not yet ready to be deployed in production environment. And we could continue with physical trainings only again in spring 2022 due to the restrictions of physical attendance of a group within a room. So a couple of member states went live already in spring 2022. We in Austria could not follow that quickly. We still had to wait until we had again suitable conditions for those physical trainings. Now, why am I emphasizing so much on those physical trainings? The main purpose for that was to get to know our pilot users. The good cooperation between us and them was crucial for us, not only for the trainings, but also for the operation of the pilot phase. So when the users are actually use and work with eEDES. So therefore, we wanted to have those physical meetings, physical trainings. And during the trainings, we're focusing mostly on technical topics. So of course, the use of eEDES itself. Any legal training was not required by us because, of course, EIO as such was in use a couple of years already. in the paper forms, of course. So themselves, also the workflows were actually quite well established and used. Also, eEDES itself, actually, from our perspective, does not require so much training. It's quite well self-explaining. Still, there were two main purposes for still having the trainings. The first one was, the most one I'd say, was to reduce, and I'll use a German term here, to reduce the Schwellenangst, which is translated into like the fear of the unknown. So the user itself is not complicated, so users could handle
Unfortunately, the connection is interrupting, Matthias. Oh, have we lost Matthias completely? The joys of online meetings. Let's see whether Matthias can join back. Have we lost Matthias forever? I hope not, because we can't miss out on such an important sharing of experiences right now. But I think he's trying to reconnect, if I can see. Let's see whether he manages to reconnect. If not, we will unfortunately have to move on at this stage. Yes, let's see whether Matthias can join us now. Matthias,
okay. I hope I'm back.
You are definitely back,
Yes.
with a different background also, I have to say.
Yes, my apologies.
As if you've changed places.
I was I was participating via my phone, and it's clear too hot. My phone just shut off because it said it's too hot.
Okay, so that's a safety feature.
Let me.
I think you had left us at the point where you were explaining how important it was to have the trainings also as understanding your user and workflow. That's the
exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So I was using this German term of Schwellenangst, the fear of the unknown. So eEDES itself, it's quite user friendly, but still. So I think users can handle eEDES maybe even without a training, but we were thinking that they need to be guided through its use at least for once, so to reduce this Schwellenangst. The second reason was, as I said, to meet users in person, also be known to the users in person. So myself and a colleague, Sebastian Leitner, were giving these trainings. We also served during the pilot phase as a first level service desk. So for us, it was important that the users also know us, that they have a face to the persons they are talking to during the piloting phase. So as said, we were going back to physical trainings. We had 3 or 4 training sessions where we had indeed 2 physical trainings, and we were trying at least to do online trainings as well. We had one or two of them, and the experience was quite different. I'll come back to that in a second. In total, we had between 40 and 50 participants. That means approximately 8 to 10 participants in the physical trainings, a bit more participants than in the online trainings. We did it as a more or less half-day training. The first training session was held in English, again by Jamila from the Commission. Other trainings were then held by my colleague Sebastian and me in German. The physical trainings went well. The questions could be discussed right away. Also, any troubleshooting during when eEDES was being used was, of course, very easy. We also had very good discussions about missing features. The online trainings, in our experience, were not really fruitful. We assume that the participants paid attention. We don't know, of course. But there were hardly any questions or discussions or whatsoever. Also, troubleshooting, if something didn't work out as intended, was, of course, very, very difficult. So one of the findings was that we actually will avoid online trainings in the futures, if anyhow possible. Another finding was that a half-day training is actually enough if you do just a mere eEDES training, so just these technical aspects. What we also considered was to actually record the training and then reuse the recordings, maybe not for initial trainings, but for users who have been trained and who then can rewatch the training. But we haven't done that so far. Yeah, and subsequently, eEDES went live between the first and the second training session. It was 1 or 2 months after the first batch of member states went live. So we were, of course, not really happy to be not part of the first batch, but at least we thought quite soon. Okay, the current state of play. We have had only very few exchanges so far in the production system. We have had exchanges with Germany and quite some with Hungary. Also, exchanges took place so far only if they were initiated by another authority, and the Public Prosecution Office of Vienna was the recipient. So therefore, we do not really have a reliable experience yet. I think this was addressed by participants in the questions they have sent before. So unfortunately, as of today, I cannot yet provide any really, reliable experience on that topic. We therefore, consider extending the piloting phase to an additional authority. We're just searching for the most appropriate one. And we always said that a countrywide rollout will be done only after a considerable number of exchanges have taken place, so we can do proper feedback sessions with our pilot practitioners and really have a solid basis of experience there. For the future e-codex use cases, so apart from EIO, the one that Christian Nicolau mentioned, we do actually intend to use a national backend system, but not eEDES. The main reason for us is that we can integrate such a national backend system more smoothly with our existing national systems, and therefore the users do not need to switch between different systems. The EIO use case might also go to that national backend system, but this is currently not yet the priority. Yes, what I have seen from questions we've received so far, so as I said, from experience, unfortunately, I cannot talk about that as we are really lacking experience. I think there was also a very general question about the technical deployment. So our view, it was a more or less straightforward deployment. We have a couple of issues, but I would say these are like the usual issues you have with different kinds of configuration details, with certificates, using the right certificates, and as always, there were very well-known firewall settings which are causing impediments. Yeah, and that's it so far from the Austrian perspective.
Thank you very much for this very interesting and walking us through to the different stages that you went through and are going through. Thank you for this, Matthias. Are there any questions for Matthias at this stage? Feel free, of course, to put in the questions in the chat, or to also put your hand up, or just to take the microphone, make the microphone open and ask the question. Alexandra?
Thank you, Jan. Maybe something that could be interesting to the participants. You mentioned that you started with Vienna being the biggest prosecutors unit, and now you're planning to expand to other pilot authorities. How do you make the choice towards expansion?
Very good question. Thank you for that. Basically, we will base it on the numbers of exchanged EIOs so far, so not the electronic ones, but the ones which have taken place previously on paper, and also taking into account which other member states are online already. So, for example, Hungary and Slovenia are live with, if I'm not mistaken, all authorities. So some prosecution office, like towards the eastern part of Austria, might be quite suitable. So the second largest city in Austria is Graz, as some of you might know. I think also it's the second largest public prosecution office in terms of numbers of exchanged EIOs. Also, it's quite very close to Slovenia, also somewhat close to Hungary, so that might be a good decision. We still have a couple of candidates which we will discuss with our Ministry of Justice. But yeah, so basing it on numbers and on the, let's say, physical distance to other authorities which are live already.
And do you plan going nationwide anytime soon, or it's based again on evaluation of new pilots?
Yes, clearly the latter one. So we do want to collect experience of the users in different kinds of experiences. So first of all, when it comes to operation, to troubleshooting, like these service desk activities, you usually have there. We want to gain experience. What are the usual issues, for example? Because once we go live nationwide, then it will not be this tiny team at the Austrian Federal Computing Center anymore running that service desk, but the, let's say, proper service desks at the for the IT. And we also need to transfer our operational knowledge to them. So we want to have some operational knowledge before that. And then also, I think what we have seen from discussed during the trainings with Vienna is that a couple of let's call it comfort features are missing in eEDES, which I think will be quite crucial for a countrywide rollout. These missing features, that it's okay for piloting phase, but we think that for a countrywide rollout, those will be necessary. But again, this is to be proven in real life experience.
Thank you. Maybe one last question.
Keeping an eye on time, but yes, go ahead, of course, Alexandra.
Were there any adjustments with regards to interface or the way eEDES was implemented in Austria?
Well, from the organizational point of view, the workflow with issuing an EIO stays the same. So we had to, let's say, use the different functionalities of eEDES in a way that it fits our workflow. From the technical point of view, what we were trying, or still trying to do, is to integrate integrate eEDES a little bit better with our national case management system and also with our national identity management system. So we've heard before that Spain has done at least integration with the identity management system. For both integration tasks, we still need a few adaptations of eEDES itself. We have submitted that, of course, to the Commission. They've created a request for change. So I do hope that this will be implemented at some time so that we can, let's say, improve the integration in our national systems a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matthias. And may I invite now Carlos Pinhoff, who's a prosecutor and at the Information Systems and Technology Department to the Portuguese General Prosecutor's Office, to share his experience now in the Portuguese context. Thank you, Carlos, for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Hello, good morning to everyone. I promise I will not be that extensive, just a few topic and bullet points, straight to the point. And sorry for not having had the time needed to prepare a proper presentation, but I will speak of our experience and our approach regarding the implementation of eEDES. Given the part of the analysis of the requirements, which for us started in 2016, jointly with the European Commission, it was more of a conceptual phase, and the basic meaning and purpose was to address requirements of the practitioners and the legal requirements in member states. And this is a very important topic and issue that we must never forget, because every single time that we plan to make a platform like this, we need to address the legal constraints that are within each of the countries. And that was a main factor for the choice that we've made, because we started the development together with the European Commission and the implementation of the Codex network first and the nodes. And secondly, the development of eEDES and the implementation of the reference implementation portal. But we chose to have a strategy that was divided basically into routes, okay? We have the RI, the reference implementation, in one of the routes, but we started and managed to have a project that was managed by ourselves with the collaboration of the European Commission and DJ Just in order to achieve the integration within our internal case management systems with the backend of eEDES. And that was the milestone that we achieved last year. Okay? This was important because, as we've already spoken, there are some legal constraints that each jurisdiction, each country has. And the best way to address them is to integrate what we can of the reference integration of the eEDES portal. But together, if we can manage to have those functionalities within our case management system with an API connection to the backend of the reference implementation portal, we can address the remaining legal requirements, for instance, regarding the way to store documents and the way to organize the case file, which has specific rules in Portugal, in a much easier way. So this was done. And we achieved this milestone shortly before the reference implementation deployment in April last year. We made the testings in January, yes, in 13 January, of course. And basically, our acceptance tests were not made in our reference implementation, but through it from within our case management system internally. Just to make it clear, in Portugal, there is a legal requirement that is, above all, and justifies the fact that the Public Prosecutor's Office is managing these cases, because the central authority is the Public Prosecutor. So the Central Authority for Judicial Cooperation has the business side, okay? And we work integrated with the business side from day one, addressing the specific requirements that were needed. And this has to be the most important approach. You have to mingle the technical and the business side. If not, things will not go well. Once we achieve this, of course, we needed to have the training. In here, of course, we had internal training, lots of internal training, but also the TREIO training and our master's training in TREIO, which Alexandra knows all too well, has been very important in the dynamic that has been created within the units that are within the piloting phase right now, active into production. We had a logic, very simple logic, to address this small group of units to start implementing in April last year eEDES into production. We needed 2 central authorities from nationwide, the central authority by itself, and our most important department for criminal investigation, which addresses all major cases of national and international competence. We had a regional unit for testing purposes and 2 local units. So we tried to mingle all the use cases possible and the requirements possible within the scope of what is possible in eEDES to address those issues from day one. Of course, there is always a problem when you start like this. It's how to maintain the focus of the practitioners to use eEDES. We don't have that many exchanges, but we have a lot of them already, but we don't have that many exchanges because the implementation is being done gradually. And for training purposes, and this is something that must be addressed with seriousness, we need to have training as close as possible to the real usage of the eEDES platform or any other platform by that matters, because if not, people will simply forget that it exists. Okay? So, right now, we are standing on a crossroads in Portugal regarding the development and future development. We have the reference implementation solution, which is being made available into production. We have the case management system used only in one of those units for now, for the time being. And we are waiting for some decisions at the top level because we are, unfortunately, going through a legislative alteration phase. Okay? So probably we will have a different mock-up for our judicial cooperation because we are trying to implement single points of contact in all our circumscriptions, either national, regional, or local level. For the time being, this is under discussion. And of course, the decision that will be made and the legislative approach that will be made will, of course, will need to have our input within the technical side in order to adequate the units and the competences within those units to address further development. Luckily for us, the units that were selected for the piloting phase are representative of those exact points, and they will not be changed even if the law changes on that direction, which is a good thing. Of course, we, to implement this, needed to have some additional security measures, and this is something that it's really, really important. We made the integration possible within our case management system and with its security rules, and even with the user management facilities that we have. But we put some additional measures for the reference implementation portal, like, for instance, some VPNs and an approach to a specific set of rules that we have on the network infrastructure in order to have a further layer of security to access eEDES. And this is important because we are, after all, exchanging data into production, which has sensitive nature. This is important, but it's also important to know that we can have, for instance, one issue solved with the integration. It was mentioned earlier on a question, I don't know by whom, the question of the digital signature and the validity of digital signature. Okay? With the integration, what we managed to do was have onboard digital signature within the scope of our internal law, which admittedly uses qualified signatures for all practitioners with their professional attributes being given immediately, which is a very important issue for us. Also, and referring to specific requirements, we, like basically everyone else in Europe, have a problem with the translation issues, and that issue is not yet covered within the development. The only thing we can do is basically send to Annex with a translation certified by a specific translator. So the full usage of these kind of functionalities that allow us to have instant translation is very needed for the practitioners. And in fact, we have to continue to address this in the way we formally do within our internal laws, probably we will delay a long time for us to have the effectiveness of the immediate contact with the judicial authority or police authority, by the way, within other member states. So, in our view, there is also the need for some European additional regulation on it, because it's impossible to have this done on a state-by-state basis. And this will hamper basically the most important feature that these tools have, which is the ease of contact, the speed in which we contact. And this has been, and this is the bridge to this part, this has been the experience of our practitioners who have already exchanged EIOs within eEDES. It's the speed of contact. It's the easiness of use. It's the form that you have a specific communication channel to address issues of the ongoing execution of a request with the competent authority on the other side. So for business, for the prosecutors, for the criminal judges that address and use this platform, this is probably the most important thing. You start to have a direct contact with who is who on the other side, and this facilitates immensely the execution of the judicial cooperation in criminal matters. That's for sure. So, in conclusion, we are now within this mainframe of awaiting for those legal changes in order to address the further development, but it is our intention to deploy the eEDES facilities to basically every single unit in the country in a foreseeable future. We would love it to be this year, but it won't be this year because of this delay in the legislative measures. And we are also addressing another issue, which is the involvement of the criminal judges in Portugal, because insofar they are awaiting for an answer from our Justice Ministry in order to have an implementation of their own to deploy eEDES into production for investigative and examining judges, which is very, very important for them. They only have an eCodex implementation for civil matters, and they are not being able to address the issue with the Justice Ministry in order to start using eEDES and make an implementation there. So these are the challenges that we now have, and basically what we can say in conclusion to this initiative is that it will be a game changer for practitioners across Europe. What we would require is some clarification on legal level, even in communitary legal level, and of course, the necessary budgetary and technical issues be addressed in every single member state for us to start using this not only on a regular basis, but as a tool that effectively can be really a game changer for practitioners, which is the most important thing. Okay? So basically this is it. I don't know if there's any questions that you might ask.
Thank you very much for this very clear presentation, Carlos. Questions for Carlos? Alexandra, any questions?
No, not this time. I think Carlos was very clear on all points. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all then.
Thank you. Thank you once again. Allow me now to hand over the chairing of the session to my colleague Alexandra and shift to being a presenter. Alexandra, I hand over the floor to you.
Thank you. So the last part of today's workshop is dedicated to the supporting tools that we've created in the TREIO project with regards to member states who are now launching or considering launching the eEDES system on national level. Some of these materials refer to trainings and different training setups. Others refer to self-paced kind of training that goes together with a development on our site, the so-called eEDES simulator. All these tools will be presented here on, not only with what they are, but how they already, in some cases, affected the launching process in the member states. And what you should remember out of this session is these tools are also available to your competent authorities, to your member states to use if the eEDES recognition and launching on national level is still pending. So Jean, up to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alexandra, for this. So, as Alexandra was saying, within the TREIO project, which is a project meant to develop training on the European Investigation Order, and of course using the eEDES implementation of it, we have in this project prepared some extensive training materials and solutions for training. And we have, I will concentrate right now on two parts of the training, and will hand over to my colleagues for another two parts. And let me say what are all of these parts. So what I will be discussing now is primarily training materials for physical or online hybrid training with potential users of the eEDES system. And I will discuss what materials we have prepared and provided and have been using with different member states. What is the methodology for this training? That's what I'm going to discuss, and my colleagues will discuss the e-learning environment that we have created, and together also a simulation platform for better self-paced training. Let me first explain these training materials. So what is it? What was our intention? Right, our intention was to keep in mind that we have people who are often knowledgeable on the EIO and know quite a lot already. However, we may in future have people who are not very knowledgeable on the legal side. So we had experienced and less experienced people. A new system, and as Matthias and Carlos said, new system and overcoming perhaps fears of new system, and also an understanding that at each national context there is a different workflow right now on how EIOs are sent and received. Keeping that as a background, we tried to develop a training or rather a curriculum for training that addresses some of, or not some, but these realities. Keeping in mind that sometimes these realities do not coexist, so keeping that in mind, we have created a curriculum that is flexible for trainers to take and pick what is needed from the training according to their audience. So here, what is important is the identification of the audience. When I say materials, I mean instructions for trainers on how to carry out the training, actual training material with case studies, with presentations, with identification of the different parts of the eEDES platform to illustrate to the audience what is going on. Then additional materials to help both the trainer and the trainee in more of the legal context within which the eEDES will be used. So this includes additional materials of references to judgments from the Court of Justice of the European Union, academic articles that have been written on different aspects, different technicalities of the EIO, mostly as having a complete package. and also evaluation questionnaires to assess a little bit what is it that the users needed in the learning. So how is the curriculum set up? It's set up, of course, in very much similar to the workflow that was shown by Christian in the demo. So on a part on the issuing of an EIO, on a part on the receiving and the execution of the EIO, and a third part that dealt with more the Annex C in the EIO and mutual legal assistance, which can also be sent and received through the eEDES platform. So the curriculum works very much reflecting the workflow of that is in the eEDES platform, with from time to time a reflection also on the legal issues, because as for example the whole discussions that we had today on translation, very useful to have a machine translation from time to time, but there are legal requirements in different member states on what the translation needs to look like, and the legal nature of that. So the training deals with both aspects. We recommended, and we've carried out also with different member states, this training on 2 half days, where we cover in the first half day more the issuing part, then allow time for, especially between the sessions, for users to actually use the demo environment of eEDES to get familiar with it, and also understand that it is not that difficult a space to use, and get familiar with the different uses of the space. And on the second half day, reflection on this use, reflection also on what users really see as perhaps missing, or clarification, or what was not clear in their personal experience of it, and then focusing on receiving and execution of the EIO. I keep on saying these materials, what are they? So these materials, we have these 2 half days are separated on different sub-sessions that will, a trainer can then decide which ones to use more than others. So there's a flexibility also in this choice of content to be used, dependent on the trainer. And I will come to trainers in a little bit. We prepared the whole collection initially in English and have already translated these materials into 15 languages, and 7 of these languages have been already validated by users in the that are using that particular language. Let me explain what I mean by validated. So the content has been translated by professional translators, but of course the national reality, national uses, and the precision in translation sometimes needs to be revised, and we are making sure that before sharing the materials with the language group, that the language translation is also examined and tested. At this point, I would like to say that if you would like to have access to these materials, and the language within which you would like to carry out the training is not yet available in the language, please let us know, and we can have further translations upon requests. For example, right now we are working on a translation for Finnish, which has been requested in the past days. What was the audience? Because that I think I have missed out. The audience we had in mind are, of course, whoever is going to be using the eEDES system and who is actually responsible for the issuing and receiving and execution of an EIO. So judges, prosecutors, other competent authorities in terms of the directive, higher administrative officials, and in some member states, if I understand correctly, in Finland and also in the Netherlands, sometimes the law enforcement or police are also involved in the drafting, the actual drafting of the EIO, so the audience is taken into account. How have we carried out so what's our idea of the training? We set off by saying, okay, we will train what we call master trainers, so the group of trainers within a particular country, and then these master trainers will train other people as they go along in the national context. We did that, and that still applies. That is that we can train a group of master trainers. However, we have also, when needed, carried out the training in English ourselves in the country itself, according to the needs of that member state. So sometimes it was for master trainers only, sometimes it was master trainers and other trainers, or directly to prosecutors and users according to the needs of the member state. So what am I getting here is that we have had quite a lot of flexibility also in giving this training, and this is the approach we would like to continue. That if there is a member state that needs our assistance in the training, we would be happy to assist in discussion and understanding the needs for that training. So we have a training for master trainers, then a national training for trainers in the piloting member states that is dedicated to the implementation of the EIO and the use of eEDES. And in September, we are holding 6 international seminars, or what we're calling international seminars, in that we're bringing together different member states together to focus on particular aspects of the EIO, and in particular in the implementation of eEDES. This way, we move on from a context of a national training to understanding what are, or what may be, the barriers or the specificities in this international context. There is a question which I'm going to take immediately, and this is, are the master trainers and other trainers groups already formed? So this depends, the master trainers depend on every member state on how they would like to carry out their training. So, for example, in Greece, we had online training with a group of master trainers that we explained also the philosophy of the training, but primarily doing the training with them. And then these master trainers carried out the training themselves. We facilitated also, they wanted to carry this online, and so we facilitated also how that could be carried out online. But the choice of master trainers is also up to the national authority or the national context on the selection. So may I allow me to repeat that there is quite a lot of flexibility in the training modalities. There's a flexibility, as I said, in the content and the choice of content according to the needs of the audience. There is a flexibility on options of online and on-site organization, and separate trainings or as part of a wider judicial cooperation perspective, as I said, with the national and international, and also the differences in schedule. So we recommend 2 half days, but there were member states who said, okay, would prefer to have a longer one session in one day, others spread over 3. There's flexibility also according, always the importance is what is the need for the training. And here I tried to, in the slide, show what we mean by flexibility also in our approach. So we are ready to give this full package of materials for training to any member state that needs it, and also to make sure that it's in the language that is needed. We can give this together with an access to demonstration environment where participants can actually practice with the eEDES environment themselves. We could also, apart from this, so these are all cumulative. In the third button is that we carry out the training of the trainers in English ourselves, and as a whole package of whatever is needed in materials, assistance in how to carry it out, a demo environment, and language support as much as we can. So what is it that we would like you to take away from this is that it's very important, as also our colleague said in their implementation, to also think of the training not only for the users that will be working with it, but also to understand the needs of the users. And so this can, you can use these materials or what we have prepared as part of this strategy of understanding the needs of the user beyond the training, but understanding what are the fears in the workflow. So for example, in one particular training, but this actually reappeared in many of the trainings, the fear of the users was not so much of the eEDES system, because after a while they realized that the system was not that difficult to use, as you saw also this morning in the demonstration by Christian. But there was more of a difficulty in understanding how will this be introduced in the national environment. Does this mean that we will have to do things double? Do we need to register the EIOs double in both our national system and by using eEDES? And understanding also these concerns will definitely help in the implementation of the system. I will now hand, and I said that you can always contact us for all the materials, for the translation of the materials and so forth. Please, I put here also our email for access, and please do not hesitate to contact us for supporting in the training. I will now hand over to my colleagues for the e-learning aspects of our training.
Jean, before we move to Georgina, I just want to intervene with a comment regarding what our Romanian colleague asked in the chat. This project has been conceived quite some time ago with the idea to go along with the eEDES launch, and then with the eEDES launch, everything changed. And you see that even now, after a year plus, the launching process is still ongoing, and only less than half of the member states have joined this piloting stage. So based on the very original idea, we had a two-stage approach to go through a training specifically designed for master trainers coming from different states, and then work together with these master trainers to actually implement national trainings afterwards in the respective national language. So going back to this question by the Romanian colleague, are the master trainers and the other trainers groups already formed? Indeed, the original training for master trainers was conducted in 2021. And then we started working on the national trainings. However, depending on the timing of going into a piloting phase from one member state to another, we saw the need for doing one-to-one trainings for master trainers, just as Jean already explained, and become much more flexible in the options that we offer. And this is how we ended up with these 4 different, let's call them training packages that we implement. For example, particularly for Romania, the Romanian colleagues from the prosecutor's office opted only for 3 trainings to be conducted by our team directly in English. And I think more than 40 plus prosecutors participated in those trainings. However, this doesn't mean that we immediately stopped working with Romania just because we had these trainings. We are still open to do either a training for master trainers if this is the need, or supports the implementation of national trainings. We already have the materials in Romanian anyway, so for us, we still have the time and the opportunity until the end of the project, being December this year, to support the member states along the way. So if for your competent authority or a group of competent authorities, people have not yet participated in such trainings, but there is the need to do so, you can just drop us a line and we'll find a way to accommodate your need. Thank you. Of course, if you have any other questions, you can just put it on the chat and we can take them after next presentation, or you can write us directly to office@treio.eu with regards to your request. Georgina,
hello.
Let's move along to e-learning.
Hopefully you can see my screen potentially.
Screen is fine. We hear you well.
And you should see me now. Excellent.
And we see you.
Hello everyone. Nice to meet you all, or hear you all, or see you in the chat. So I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about one of the tools from the TREIO project, which is the e-learning course or content, and we're kind of overarching title is the TREIO online training. So as Jean so eloquently put before, we were able to assess the needs of different stakeholders during the on-site physical in-person trainings, and that was particularly useful for developing the online training. And one of the things that I will mention is the stakeholders. But firstly, I will go through just an idea of what this e-learning course brings in terms of what its aims were, potential activities in the online training for us as a project, and also the benefits for practitioners. So we had a few aims and various activities which sit under these ideas. One of them is the e-learning platform. So we needed a platform to house the course for practitioners to be able to engage online with the training materials. We needed the self-paced trainings, which Gina's mentioned and referred to before, which were comprised of materials adapted from the on-site and in-person trainings based on what we experienced in those on-site trainings, but also based on the different stakeholders that we potentially might be targeting online. There's also potential language versions that we needed to consider, and what has been referred to before as our TREIO eEDES simulator. And this is a real-time training experience platform where it's simulating the eEDES platform. And I will come to this a little bit later on, and my colleagues will refer to this in the next presentation as well. So overall, we have a TREIO online training and tool package, which comprises of the TREIO online training as well as the simulator. And both will be available and accessible to member states. And particularly useful for various different reasons. So to cover what is in the online training, when we refer to the e-learning materials, there are essentially three things that we can discuss. We have the eEDES specific content, which is supported by kind of the theory and the legal aspects in terms of the EIO and the EIO form. And also some information on the actors involved in the process. We have specific content around the eEDES platform, so how to use the platform, how to fill out an EIO form, and the benefits. And then we have more of a refresher training component, which is where it could be used as an instruction from various different parts to refresh a practitioner's skills or memory in a particular topic related to either the EIO process, the legalities, or the eEDES training. So we have these three particular areas which we've observed from the previous on-site training. So there is a different need for training depending on a practitioner's previous experience. So they might be a new starter, for example, and need more information, or may just need a refresher on using the eEDES platform. So we took all of this into account, and we have one package which encompasses all of these things, but can be portioned into these three if and where necessary. So the benefits of the online training package as a whole, when we look at the main package, which is everything, so all the theoretical concepts, the practical exercises, and embedded the simulation. It has a particular benefit for new starters or anyone with a limited knowledge to EIO directive or the EIO form, or even the eEDES platform itself. It allows for quite an amount of flexibility as per the on-site trainings, and is suited to professionals on an ad hoc basis. So there's the need that potentially people may need to participate in this training at different times, depending on when they start or depending on when they need to refresh their memory. So this is one of the benefits of the online learning approach as well. The study allows for anywhere working, so it is self-paced, so someone can be at home or at work. There is no instructor to lead the training. So it is as a result, it is down to the participants and practitioners themselves to control their study time. But it's also user-centered in the way that we've tried to actively engage the students, the practitioners, as much as possible through the use of exercises and also through the use of the TREIO eEDES simulator, which we have embedded within the course for the use of practicals. And this allows the practitioners to essentially carry out the filling out of an EIO form or the sending of an EIO form in a space that is a safe environment to do so. It's not set up for real life situations. It's set up to simulate those real life situations and provide them with an active training platform. We have the second package, which I mentioned was the eEDES training specifically, and this is with the aim to help professionals who are currently maybe working with the EIO forms but have limited knowledge or use of the eEDES platform. And one of the key benefits here is that we have some content, which I will discuss in a little bit, which enables us to demonstrate to the participants how to use eEDES. And to complement with that, we have the practical exercises in the training, which can be used with the eEDES simulator that we have. And basically they can enact the activities in that safe environment, reducing the chances of mistakes in the real environment after use. And it gives them an increased awareness of the eEDES platform, its benefits, and the use for transferring requests and evidence after the fact. So if the system hasn't been embedded in your member state yet, for example, this might be an opportunity to see how the eEDES platform works just through our simulator. Also, we feel that the training on the use of the eEDES helps increase the professional's confidence in using eEDES. They can go over the material as many times as they like. They can refresh their memory on the demonstrations, and also they can utilize the TREIO eEDES simulator over and over to practice some of the tasks that they would perform within the eEDES platform itself. And then we have the refresher component, and this is more to help professionals retain that important information and that important knowledge of how to use the eEDES platform. This particular idea might be more beneficial for people who maybe don't use the eEDES platform very often. Maybe they're sending EIOs infrequently and maybe need a refresher of either the system or the directive and the legalities on a more sporadic basis. The aim also to help competent authorities identify if there are any knowledge gaps within the professionals' training needs, and how the online training could assist with that, and they maybe can cherry pick components that practitioners are able to bolster their knowledge on. It continues to allow for a collaborative and continuous learning culture and professional development, and transferable methodology for future uses of eEDES. So there might be a need for refresher training dependent on the users going forward, and implementation of eEDES in the member states. So we have tried to think of the various different stakeholders within this process, and obviously tailoring to different target audience is never easy, but we've tried to incorporate not only the legalities around the EIO, but the EIO process and the tools which are used, such as eEDES platform, within the receiving of or sending of electronic requests and evidence. And I will take an opportunity just to consider the learning and teaching methods that are applied within the online training. And firstly, we have the format, which is online. It is self-paced, as I mentioned. It's around 1 week, but possibly could be done faster depending on a practitioner's knowledge and ability to dedicate to the training. The master copy is in English, and there will be potentially multiple stakeholders, as I mentioned before, and the various different blocks that we think might be feasible with this online training in terms of refresher, eEDES, and a more overall package. So we have kind of 5 key lessons in the online training, and they go from very basics with legalities, as I mentioned, theoretical concepts, processes, to through to how to do certain actions within sending of an EIO or using eEDES. And throughout that, there are several practicals which we expect the practitioners to undertake when performing the training. To deliver the training, there is several content items. As I mentioned, a collection of theory and practice. There are some demonstrations and tutorials in there, and there are also the exercises with the simulator, which is designed to promote the more active participation of the practitioners, so they're not simply just reading course materials from an online course. The training takes into account that obviously we have different learner needs. Each person learns differently, so we've tried to account for that in the inclusion of different types of materials. As I mentioned, we have some videos and demonstrations. These rarely include audio, but there are times where audio is included. But we have, for the most part, excluded audio for several reasons. One is that it's not conducive to easy or efficient or effective translations. And also the other reason is if you're working on the training in the work environment, the last thing you want is probably audio suddenly blaring out in the office or other environments. So we have, for the most part, excluded audio, but instead replaced it with subtitles and other things that help to bolster the learning in these content elements. So we have several content elements. We have textual-based content, as you can see in the graphic on your screens. And this is used throughout the course for much of the theory. But we also have graphics and animations, so there are some graphics like these, or some short video animations which we've used to highlight, for instance, particular processes or procedures that we think need to be highlighted to the practitioners undertaking the training. We also have some short videos, and as I mentioned, the videos often don't include audio. There are a few which do, but they also have subtitles to accompany. We have some knowledge checks checks at the end of lessons. These knowledge checks are not used to test the practitioners throughout the training. Instead, they're just used as a knowledge check, so to check that the practitioners have been through the content and have understood the content. We have a similar format for the exam at the end, which obviously does test the practitioners on their knowledge and use of several aspects throughout the course. I mentioned we also have some demonstrations. These also appear in video format, and these are where we have taken the opportunity to pick a particular activity or task and demonstrate how you would complete this using the eEDES platform. And for this, we've used our TREIO eEDES simulator to enact these. Each video is split into several sections often, and it has subtitles to explain what is going on. It's slowed down for viewing from the practitioners, but can be paused and can be followed. And we encourage practitioners during these demonstrations to actually go onto the TREIO eEDES simulator and follow along, or complete the same activity after. Throughout these demonstrations, there's often some additional information which appears alongside the video, which we present with key points on aspects that practitioners need to be aware of when filling out sections of, for example, the EIO. In this example here, we have a demo where we deliver some sections of the EIO, so sections A to D. I won't go through the whole demonstration. It's just a snippet of, but you can see the demo starts. It has subtitles to explain. There are several portions down here, which you can see. And there are some sections here where you will see that additional information will appear on the right-hand side. And when you click on it, we provide with more information related to certain aspects which are useful at this particular time during the demonstration. We've tried to split the demonstrations up into logical format so that it's easy to understand. And we have split the sending of an EIO or receiving of an EIO into different demonstrations as well for easy viewing. We also have some simulations. In addition to the TREIO eEDES simulator, we have some embedded simulations, which you can see in the graphic on your screen. The simulations include clickable elements, which are used to simulate the task. So the practitioners are expected to work through the task as if they were working in eEDES. And you can see in this example, we are starting a new request for an ITN, I think this example is for. And we describe to the practitioners what they should click on so that they can follow through with us. We pre-fill some of the information in the boxes because there is no text input on these simulations, but we do try as much as possible to either fill with logical information based on the scenario that we are working with in this simulation, or provide them with information on specifics that we would say that's important to include when filling out the forms for themselves using eEDES. I won't continue with this demonstration, but if the presentation is available after, then you can view it at your own leisure. But as you can see, we follow through as if we were using the system on the eEDES platform to fill out an ITN form here. We also have some practical exercises, and I have mentioned these already, but the practical exercises are embedded in the course to be used with our TREIO eEDES simulator. There are a set minimum of tasks that we expect the practitioners to complete during their training, and we expect them to engage with the simulator as much as possible. For some of the practical exercises, there may also be a short quiz to check their knowledge after the completion of the task. in most cases, as you can see on the right-hand side, the practicals will be delivered to the practitioners in a PDF format. And this PDF format will then lead them to the TREIO eEDES simulator, where they can sign in and play around with the system in a safe manner. And the TREIO eEDES simulator will be discussed by my colleagues in the next presentation. But for now, the next steps towards the TREIO online training involve you. We have a call for registration of interest to hear more about the online training, and then we will have a formal registration for the training pilots. There will be 2 training pilots in English, and then we will receive the feedback and evaluation from these pilots to develop the content into 12 other languages. And then towards the end of the project will be more the dissemination and communication and accessibility of the self-paced online training. So at this point, we encourage you to register your interest to hear more about the upcoming TREIO online training pilots, and the exclusive access to the TREIO eEDES simulator, which will be used for these training purposes. You can find the link here, also a QR code to the form, but you have our email address if you would like to contact us as well about this. And at that point, I think I will hand over to my colleagues on the TREIO eEDES simulator, and then we will come back to any questions that you might have about the online training after.
Thank you, Georgina. Jon?
Of course, I'm aware we're running out of time, so we'll be quicker than usual. Start the presentation.
In the meantime, if you have any questions regarding the learning, you can put them in the chat and we'll take over after Jon's presentation.
Okay, can you see everything correctly?
Yes, all good.
Good.
Yes.
So, great. So I'm Jon Pangalos, I'm a researcher at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. I'm also joined by Yannis Dalmatsidis, who will help me later on with the demo. You've heard about the eEDES simulator, so I'm going to briefly describe what it is and what the point of adding such a tool to the TREIO toolkit is all about. We're aiming for real-time training experience. So in a classic instructor-based training, you have 2 people exchanging eEDES messages, either in the demo environment or in the real acceptance environment. Users A and B here are real users, trainees and trainer. This is very suitable for live face-to-face training. But when we're talking about self-paced training, it makes much more sense, in our opinion, to replace user B with something that we like to call the TREIO autoresponder. So I'm not going to call it an AI because that's too soon for that. It's just a set of scripts that, let's say, intelligently reply to requests coming from users. So a little bit about how this is all set up is just very quickly, there is an actual eCodex environment where member states exchange test messages. This is all in the test environment, of course, not in the production. So there's an environment where member states exchange test messages. Within this environment, we've set up something that we call the TREIO training space. So this is a full eCodex gateway that we have named TREIO for obvious purposes. Behind this is an eEDES simulator. This is an installation, a full installation of the eEDES reference implementation that sends messages through this gateway. It is available for training, and there is no national implementation required for it. This specific eCodex instance is only able to communicate with another eCodex gateway instance, so there's no crossing of messages going on to other member states, just to be on the safe side. This is, at the moment, it's the eCodex Central Testing Platform, but this is actually just a technical thing. This can be decoupled later on. The idea is that, however, that the eEDES simulator talks via eCodex to something that, as I mentioned before, is called the TREIO autoresponder, and trainees can use this to coordinate through this autoresponder, as I will show you later, and the TREIO learning management system that you saw previously. Now, all of this is completely transparent to the users, because what's happening is that even though we have a local installation of this TREIO environment, what users see is the eEDES simulator, which we now, you will from now on see it as member state XX, because we've run out of ISO codes to use, of course, because they're reserved for member states, which is an eCodex system, as I said. A little FYI here is that this current version is based on the eEDES reference implementation 2.1.6. However, there are no significant changes, content-wise at least, that are relevant to the training, and we keep upgrading this with the help of the Commission, the eEDES Service Desk, and we will do the next update in July 2023 to come up to 2.2.2, which is the version that Christian also showed earlier. Now, on the other hand, you will see this TREIO autoresponder. You might have already seen this in some of the videos that Georgina showed. This appears as the member state ZZ, which is a module that is able to read and respond to eCodex XML messages. Of course, there's no point in discussing what these XML messages are. Suffice to say that because they're machine understandable, this TREIO autoresponder can pick up these messages, read them, because you wouldn't be able to do this on a PDF, right? It can pick them up, read them, and respond accordingly. This is currently constantly being developed. We're constantly adding new content and test cases. And of course, the technological basis is there. It is able to read and respond to messages. An important part of having this locally here at AUTH is that the eEDES simulator and the TREIO autoresponder both have the same authentication later on. So I'll briefly describe what we have envisioned that you can do with this tool. We have two use cases. One is the outgoing EIO, where users interacting with the eEDES assume the role of the issuing state, which, as I mentioned before, will now be the XX state. And in this scenario, the role of the executing state is taken by the TREIO autoresponder, i.e. the ZZ state. And in this use case, we have sort of three sub-scenarios you can see here, where an outgoing Annex A is acknowledged and not answered with an Annex B. It is auto-answered with rejection or auto-answered with a request for additional information. In the other use case, which is here to answer the question, hey, can you send me an EIO so I can see what happens? The students or the trainees interact with eEDES, assuming the role of the executing state, this time on the eEDES simulator, as you will see. There are different flavors of incoming Annex A cases that can be ordered through the TREIO autoresponder. And in this scenario, in this use case, we also have three sub-scenarios where you receive a proper Annex A and you're supposed to acknowledge receipt with an Annex B, and you reject or request for additional information. Now, this is all fine. I would rather much prefer to show you an actual demo of all this. So just bear with me as I switch to the TREIO simulator environment.
All set.
Great, great. BlueJeans disables my, oh, there's my video view. All right. Good. Okay, so this is one of the test users. I'll log into the system. There's no point in explaining what this is. You've seen it by now a couple of times. I will also log in with the same account to the eEDES simulator. And I will now order, I will show you in the use case 2, and then Yanis will log in another user and show you what an outgoing use case looks like. So in this scenario, let's say, we're ordering a case called the TREIO exercise 1. We'll add some TREIO demo. What you will see here is that after I press send new case, this is a real eCodex message created and sent over the internet. Of course, it's sent over the internet to the same network, but of course it's sent through the internet. And you will see that this is a new case that has been created. Now, if everything went correctly, I will very soon receive a notification of a new request. As you will see, this is a demo, so I tried to make sure that one was received earlier. There we are. Okay, so this is, as you see, quite fast because these are installed in our local environment. On our server array, and you will see that this is a new request that after this you will be able to follow through with whatever exercise is planned. Of course, I'm just covering the technical part here. The pedagogical part is covered elsewhere. This is a proper Annex A being received. You will see it here along with all eCodex evidences and so on and so forth. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go deeper into detail about how you follow through with this. You are obviously able to respond as you would normally do with an Annex A, an incoming Annex A. I will now hand over to Yanis, who will show you the equivalent example of sending an Annex A through the system and seeing how the autoresponder responds with Annex B. Yanis.
Okay, thank you, Yun. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, so again, I'm going to use a different username, test user 1, in the simulator. And I interact as my, let's say, my own member state. The environment, as Christian mentioned, is self-explanatory. I'm going to prepare now a new request. The procedure is pretty much the workflow that Christian went through. I'm going to try to give you some added value that we try to have with the simulator. So I'm going to start a new request, an EIO in this case. Let's say, name it. Okay, now, for example, I'm going to correlate also with my national content case management system. It really helps me, for example, if I want to go through numerous different cases, it is easily searchable this way. So the system prepared an Annex A for me. I can do validation checks whenever I want. And this is very helpful, you know, with these red fonts. And for example, I have to go and talk to the executing state. And in this case, it's going to be the machine, the TREIO autoresponder. Okay. And of course, I have to choose the executing authority. That's the tricky part. But in our case, for simplicity reasons, it is only one test authority. I select it. Now, the smart part here, of course, when you run through a training scenario, the practitioners get, for example, from the LMS or elsewhere, some instructions. I have here, I'm not sure if you can see that, if you can take a look, for example, for the outgoing case, I have here a table. If I key in test 1 in section C, I make the responder to interact with a specific predefined way. So in this case, I have to make the responder answer with an Annex B. If I, for example, put in Annex C, test 2 is going to reject it, or with test 3 is going to request additional information. So here, I'm going to use test 1. Go over to section F. Of course, when you prepare, you run the scenarios. Usually, we use in trainings we identify two different training scenarios. The one is the victim bought some goods that were never delivered. So you request an EIO in order to obtain evidence of the bank transactions. And the second case that we usually follow is the email interception ending with a payment to the wrong IBAN account. These are the two typical. So, but for simplicity reasons, I'm going to go over very quickly with some blah blah, let's say. And I'm going to pretend to be a judicial authority. So to make it a little bit easier, I can just right away sign and send. Otherwise, I mean, some other competent authority needs to sign the document. So everything looks to be okay. I can run my validation checks. Looks good. I can attach documents, for example, or I can get a PDF, for example, or print it. But now I can complete. I forgot to mention that as this user, I can check my profile. I acquire all different roles. Usually the practitioners don't have this supervisor role. This one is also center, reviewer, signer 1 and 2, author, and assigner. So having all these different roles, I can accept this form, also sign, and that's the tricky part about the signage. I have my qualified signature here in smart card token. I can plug it in. It's qualified in terms of the EU regulation 910. I can place my digital signature usually at the end of the PDF file where the stamp is supposed to take place. In my PIN number, put also the timestamps, and here it goes. Now I just have to upload the signed PDF. Now the system does all these tricky part, tries to check the digital signatures, if everything is okay, if the certificate is revoked, stuff like that. And I'm ready practically to submit. And the final role, the sender, can follow the workflow and send the case. Now, if I go to the event and message timeline, you can see here all the history of the outgoing EIO. Of course, this is the the same user, but this might not be the case in your situation. All these could be, for example, different roles, different natural persons with different rights. Now I can update the message. The autoresponder usually takes a minute or so to respond to this case, and it's going to respond accordingly to what we did in section C. And here it is supposed to answer with an annex B. Let me see if things are getting better. Okay. Here you can see all the information of the Annex A. It was sent by the simulator, and the recipient was the autoresponder test authority, which is the executing state.
Yanis,
yes.
Can you go back to the previous screen? I just want to add something to the sent, where it said the delivery receipt.
Which one?
The previous screen where you clicked on European Investigation Order, the second.
No,
in the event and message timeline.
Sorry. The event and message, okay.
This one.
Here.
Yeah, I just want to note that in the bottom left where it says delivery status delivery, this is an actual eCodex evidence. Of course, not digital evidence, delivery evidence. So this means that this technically arrived to the other side. So this is one of the benefits of using eCodex here, that you're aware that it has reached the other side. And because the eEDES simulator is a proper eCodex gateway, you also see this part. Okay.
Okay, and you can also check the token PDF, which is the interesting part, because I mean the system went through all the internal rules, and here the green stamp means that everything is okay. I mean, the trust OK token is your proof that everything went smoothly. Mm-hmm. And now the responder, you can see that sent us an Annex B, where it looks that it is pretty much the EIO was acknowledged. Okay, and you can acknowledge also again with the workflow with different other options as this happens in real life. But let me also show you, if I go back to the dashboard, a couple of other cases. For example, in this case, it was responded with rejection. Why? Because in Annex A, I had on section C test 2. Okay, and also going back to the this case, let me check test 2. This one, for example, it was responded with request for additional information because in Annex A, I placed test 3. So anyway, I mean, this is pretty much the behavior of the system in the outgoing case. We think that it brings a little bit more added value to the practitioners, and along with the incoming case that Ion also showcased, this is the environment that we provide. Probably in the next, let's say, months, we can put in the instructions a little bit more legally interesting content there to make it a little bit more realistic. So thank you very much. I think that this was all from my part.
I was just going to say the same thing, Yannis, that our work from now on will focus on, now that you've seen the skeleton, the technical framework of what this can do, we'll be adding and continuously updating the exercises and, let's say, as Yannis said, some more legal-based exercises that make sense in terms of what the responses are, so that the autoresponder can read some more parts and react accordingly. So back to you, Alex.
Thank you. As you've seen, also from our presentation so far, we've worked with mostly with member states that are in the launching process. But now we are opening up. We've been in communication with all member states applying the EIO directive. In reality, we have offered them all these tools and materials. Some of them picked them up. Some of them just decided to go with a particular one, depending on their national strategies. And now we are opening up to basically everyone who is interested, be they part of a piloting authority or not. I mean, every professional interested in the process, to work with our tools. Going back to a question in the chat, can we register for the simulator access even if we are not yet a pilot authority? Yes, indeed. We are going to launch a registration form, let's call it a registration form, after this event, where you can sign up for getting access to the e-learning environment and the eEDES simulator altogether. And once we do have some polishing to do in the next couple of weeks, but end of August we'll launch both tools in production environment, and then you'll be able to work with them. We'll gradually build upon the tools with regards to learning into different languages, and there will be promotion going in different states depending on the sequence of languages going live. So basically, this is what's going to happen after the end of the project, until and after the end of the project. I'm not going to waste much more of your time. I just want to mention that all these tools that you've seen now are available to member states or to individual practitioners. You're more than welcome to ask for them and join the project as a user or competent authority. that wishes to engage in the process. What's left until the end of the project is actually to wrap all these tools up into a single toolkit and to create a guiding document on how to work with them simultaneously in order to create a more appealing training strategy for your own national environments and particularities. However, what we have hoped to happen, and what we find like probably the most interesting part of all this, we believe this reference training framework is implementable not only to EIO, but also to other judicial cooperation instruments, not only in the criminal domain, but also in the civil and commercial side. So all these materials that we've created just showcase how things could be done, but they also showcase how transferable and flexible the whole framework is to another instrument. So with the development of eEDES, we believe that all these materials, of course, subject to adjustments to the respective judicial cooperation instrument, could be used for all training and launching strategies along the way. Having said this, I would like to, unless there are any further questions, of course, I would be glad to answer them in the meantime, but I would just like to thank you all for staying until the very end and taking part in this workshop. A series of emails will follow with regards to presentations being made available to you. There will be a recording published, but it will take us some time to go over it, considering the ongoing holiday period. And we'll gradually build the communication upon taking you on board for all these instruments, of course, for everyone interested. I see no questions in the chat, so thank you very much once more. And I do believe we'll be in touch.